So my phone died and the video stopped like in the middle when it was getting good. But that's okay. I was in the midst of talking about the youth and what I am doing. One thing we do have to learn also is that when we are doing work with the youth, we don't have to do work with tons of them. We don't have to build an organization to make a difference. You could, adopt a youth that's in your family. If you have siblings, those are the individuals I definitely would start with because you have a relationship with them, or you can create a relationship with them. Those things are very important. Um, but young adulthood is very hard because they're figuring out what they want to do, why they want to do it, how they want to do it. And they have embodied fear from us adults. Don't go do this because this may happen. We think of the worst possible things and we, feed them that. And this is not all of us. I'm going to say some of us, and I'm going to also speak from my experience of doing this. Was it right? Absolutely not, because it kind of, put limits. And I feel like we shouldn't put limits on, teenagers because they are brilliant, especially from children to young adulthood. Their minds are absolutely wonderful. They don't, embody fear as much as adults do. And that's kind of a good thing because they're more willing to take a cautious risk, and understand that they can come back from that. So I think at that time when they're youth, we pretty much put them in a box. And when we put them in that box, we take from them. And we, have to unbox them and allow them to do more, to be more, see more. So, I like that, see more. But we have to allow them to create. Like, one of the teens that I work with was telling me, like, I just am afraid to fail. I don't want to be unsuccessful. And I'm like, well, why do you have that in your mind that you are going to fail? You are going to be, you know, unsuccessful in whatever you do. It's like, because I see all of this around me like this, and then everybody tells me this, and I'm like, wow, that makes sense. I've actually said these things to this person as well. Also to other people as well, like, to be cautious, and also to my children. But that doesn't make sense. Like, once we put limits on ourselves, we limit ourselves in every aspect. Learning to be better, physically as well. We got to stop that. We have to stop that, not only for ourselves but for our youth. We want them to be better and greater than us in every aspect of life. And the only way that can happen is if we encourage them to do more. For example, like, I didn't know how to swim at all whatsoever. Yeah, I didn't like the water. I went on a field trip. The girls all partnered with, their friends, and I was just like the third wheel. So I got on a double by myself, and the double tipped over, and I was sliding down that slide. Now, obviously, the floaty came up without me, and I'm so happy that it went down first so that it would tell the man that I was down there drowning. But when he got me out, I was just like, wow, I don't ever want to experience something like that ever. So when I heard E.T. saying, you gotta want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, I'm like, sir, when I was in that water, I remember that feeling. That was traumatizing, okay? But I knew that for my children, I didn't want them to experience something where they couldn't swim. So I put them in lessons, and quite naturally, they were like, this is not what I want. I'm not content with this. I'm scared, because obviously they embody fear of water in certain situations from me, and when they were in my womb. So I kind of passed that on, passed that spirit of fear onto them, and it just, continued to go forth. And I asked my children, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I asked, the youth that I'm working with, what do you want to be when you grow up? Everybody says the same thing. And I kind of was just like, when I said this with my children, like, who do you want to be when you grow up? It's like, I asked myself, who do I want to be when I grow up? I literally asked myself, Deja, who you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, who I want to be when I grow up? Like, I'm an adult. And, adulthood is hard. We going to keep it real. Even adulthood is hard. Like, sometimes we don't know where, why, how, especially when it comes to habit stacking, the habits that we already have, and trying to remove them when we know that they aren't righteous, and we want to become better. We want to become the greatest version of ourselves, just because we have so much to offer. Like, we are amazing, we are great, and we have all of that is embodied inside of us does not become activated until we start to dig and stir some things up. So adulthood is hard, especially when you are facing jealousy, when you are facing envious, when you are facing things that you learned in your childhood, when you actually are facing them and removing them. Those things are hard as an adult, because you've been doing that thing for so long. So I stopped asking my children, because they're not baby goats. I stopped asking my children, what do they want to be when they grow up? Like, you don't have to be nothing. So, and because I had asked myself, and it sounded funny, I was like, just listening, I want to hear that. So now I'm like, what do you want to do when you grow older? What do you want to do? That is when I found out I have a child that want to go to Hawaii, actually want to get married in Hawaii, and all type of stuff. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's all I had to do was rephrase the question, and I was going to get all these kind of answers. Definitely. So if you have some teens or something that you mentoring, or you just have in your life, ask them what they want to do. Write it down and encourage them on how to get to the steps. If you don't know how to do it, find out, because that's going to help both of y'all grow. Okay?